When the 64 presents a Playguide and video review. Sit back and enjoy the show.
Hi there, welcome to another Lemon 64 Play Guide and Review. In this one we're checking out Desert Fox, which was developed and published by US Gold in 1985. On the tape version it loads with a great loading picture which shows the Desert Fox, which was General Erwin Rommel, who landed in North Africa to try and combat the British, who were trying to combat the Italians at the time, who were trying to capture Egypt. And Erwin showed up and basically kicked the English forces all the way back across Libya, and it's our job to retake all those positions that Rommel took off us in the second offensive. So, in this game, it was coded by J. Stuart Easterbrook, who'd already coded Ace of Aces and also the Dam Busters, and MaryLou O'Rourke, who went on to other games after this. From this menu we can select to practice or compete in any of the campaigns, and so to start with let's just select practice, and we can also press the F1 key. That will change the explosions that happen when we press the fire button. When we are happy with those explosion sounds, we can then press the fire button and that will take us back to the menu. Unfortunately, that has one major drawback. Because having changed the sound effects, that will change all of the sound effects throughout the game and make them higher or lower, more strengthy or more muddy. So let's just reset that to something a little bit better. And now we can try that again. In the Stuka round, we will get attacked by a Stuka aircraft, and we have to protect ourselves in our tank with our gun, and we can fire the barrel towards that thing. It helps to aim high if the aircraft is a long way away, and then the projectile will arc its way towards it, and otherwise it's best to aim on target unless it's moving left or right really quickly, and then it might be best to anticipate that by moving to the far left or the far right ahead of its trajectory. Having scored 5,000, we'll then complete that practice mission, so we'll next move on to the next one.
Tiger.
In the Tiger, I don't think they were actually fighting tigers because this was the desert battle, but what they are fighting is tanks, and you can see that if we aim for the tanks, eventually it will blow up, and this is one of my lesser favourite rounds because you can't seemingly avoid the projectiles unless you shoot them, and it's easy to rack up damage. It's easiest to take on the tanks when they are a fair distance away, and that means that you can judge the distances a bit better, and when they are quite up close they can change direction on the spot, and maybe they resemble remote control tanks, but you can see eventually we managed to get a shot on target. and if you are being battered by a tank for quite some time, that can mean your total damage, you can see at the bottom of the screen, piles up, and once our total damage, which continues over the missions, once that reaches the end, then unfortunately that's game over.
Minefield.
In Minefield, we'll have to manoeuvre our tank through it, and we can use the chain gun in this case to destroy mines directly in front of us. And you can see there is a marker covering up the W on our compass. That means we'll have to head west in this case to get to our next checkpoint. And yes, if you run over a mine, you'll get buried in the sand, and we can move at some speed through this, but ordinarily it's best to pick your way through that minefield so that you don't take any damage.
Ambush.
The ambush is quite fun. Again, we'll need to get onto the chain gun, and in this case the enemy are firing rockets, it looks like, towards us, or at least a hail of tank fire, and we'll have to knock that out of the sky with our machine gun. Be a certain number of these to knock out, and we'll either destroy them or they'll collide with the tank, in which case you'll hear a noise and that will also inflict damage. You might also notice the screen changes from day to night as well, and you can see at dusk it makes it quite difficult to aim for these things. Of course, even in the manual it states do not attack these things at night.
Convoy.
In the convoy scenario, we'll have to pull the controller left and right, and that will automatically activate the left and right guns that you can see, and maybe these are anti-aircraft guns that we've got mounted on the top of our tank. Long and short of it is, if any of those drop bombs onto our convoy, then they'll get damaged, and we can see the damage meter piles up again on the bottom of that screen. As you can tell, the convoy is my very least favourite of all these scenarios, so let's just avoid this for the rest of this playthrough. Having practiced, it's time to start the campaigns, and the first one is Challenger, which is the easiest one, and so let's just check out our controls before we start. And the heads up display, you can see the top one is air support, base info, scan direction, and also we can move the tank. And so if we select the base info, that will show us in the bottom corner how many days left that thing can stand up for, or maybe it's hours left in this game. Those really tick down fairly rapidly, and the last one that has been displayed will keep being displayed in the bottom right corner. That particular base has 20 hours remaining displayed in the bottom corner.
Convoy. Minefield. Depot.
The next one is Radio.
Tiger. Stuka. Depot.
And we can use the radio to scan for what is ahead of us in the game.
Rommel.
The radio is critical because without that you won't know what's going on, and it's possible to clear a safe path through all of these enemies and move to spots where we don't have enemies appearing on the radio.
Stuka.
Having found this particular path, we can then move into that.
Tiger. Depot. Convoy. Stuka.
And that's how you tackle this scenario, but we've only got 17 hours left on this particular base. And 29 hours left on this one at Bardia, and Solemn, well, that's usually the one that holds out the longest. So let's restart this again and let's try to take Tobruk first of all. Time is critical in this game, so let's maneuver as fast as we can. In this case, it's only Stuckers guarding the base, so let's brave that and let's get into the action. And we know the air defense isn't too bad, and if you practice these levels then you'll get better at them and take less damage. And so let's practice again with these guys, and you can avoid all of the enemy traps that they've laid out just by scanning the area with our radio. And in the Second World War, particularly in the desert battle, the radio was critical. In the actual desert battle, the forces of evil managed to battle their way all the way to Egypt, and then we managed to battle them all the way back through Libya to Tripoli, and then they battled their way all the way through and beat us back to Egypt again. In the middle is Tobruk, and once you rescue Tobruk, we'll then get all those supplies liberated, all that health supply recharged, and all those things into our army. We'll now have to find a safe spot out of here, and the only safe spot is through another Stucker zone. So unfortunately we're going to have to face that, but that's not too bad because we know that that enemy isn't too difficult to beat in this game. Stucker. So Desert Fox is really a liberator sim, and if you choose to avoid most of these scenarios you can get through the first campaign pretty quickly, as we shall see, and then the second campaign uses exactly the same map, only employs different bases, 4 bases instead of 3, and then it adds another base with each scenario. So I find the first scenario, this training one, is perhaps the most enjoyable because you get through it pretty quickly. As long as you get through these scenarios pretty quickly, you can then move. And if you face Rommel, then you'll have to knock out his tank and hit it 8 times, and then that will knock him out of the battlefield. Unfortunately, the Germans and the Italians, combined units, in this case, will divide, and you'll find another enemy appears on the map, so it's not a good idea to face Rommel in this case. I've already explored this territory on a previous play, so I know that this land is free of enemies and traps, so what I'm doing is rushing very, very quickly, just like the big leaders in history, Hannibal, Napoleon and Caesar. They all rushed in and used speed to their advantage to outflank the enemy and to gain the opportunity to capture those objectives early. Minefields. In this case we'll have to run the gauntlet of the minefield, so what I'm doing is putting the tank on full tilt and high gear, and I'm racing my way through to the exit, because at this stage every hour that base defends itself is time lost, and we'll have to get there very quickly, because in this game you will not have time to get through to all the bases in time, hence the air support, because you can drop air support onto any base and that will mean that the time is extended for a little bit longer, and hopefully once I've got through this minefield I can get to the base and reach that just in time before it's overrun with the enemy. And you can see 0 in the bottom corner and not many supplies left. That means we got there in the final day, perhaps the final hour, and God save the Queen that we've managed to liberate another camp in this game. Unfortunately, the other camp is probably in dire need of us, so let's zoom in and take a look. Well, 22 hours perhaps it's got left, so let's send in some air support, and let's make sure that there's plenty there for us. And now let's scan the area and see what there is.
Depot, Tiger, Minefields.
We can then move into that area and capture it, and it's only a small jog now to complete this game, and it is night time, so it isn't much of a problem in the Stucker mission because you can see those because they're firing away at us. So this is a brilliant level, and it's very great to take the game on just by completing these easy levels in this first scenario. But the other levels and the other scenarios are difficult, and if you wade through other scenarios with convoys completely demolishing our weaponry and tanks completely demolishing us, then you'll find this game is very tough indeed. So this game is an avoid 'em up, and you have to be on your toes and shoot things down pretty rapidly to get through to the next section, and most of the scenarios are pretty rapid except for the convoy, which is a pretty rapid spiral into death. You can see on this one we can even turn round 360 degrees and shoot the enemies that have flown over us from behind, and that gives us a nice impression of 3D in the game.
Depot.
And that's the first scenario completed. We've taken all of the bases. That gives us a victory sign on the screen and an end screen as well. We've gained the upper hand in this particular skirmish, but we've still got a few more to go. Let's move on to Crusader, and these ones will get difficult with things in our way. We can't go to the coast and avoid things.
Minefield, convoy, minefield, Stuka.
And so we'll have to use our radio now to scan through and make sure that the area is suitable.
Stuka, minefield, convoy.
I think this game has some hidden opportunities missed, because if they'd have created another screen to the right of this one, that would have been El Alamein, and if we go over to the left, then that would have been basically Benghazi in that kind of area. So you could have started El Alamein with the first scenario, this could have been the second one, and then the third one is Benghazi. Then we get beaten back. If you lose the mission, you could get beaten back to a previous scenario, and that would simulate the actual war on the game. Unfortunately, we don't get the actual war on the game. It's a liberation sim where we have to avoid certain things, and so the full capability of this game, which could have been immense and a classic on the machine, is still a classic, but all for the different reasons that it is basically a multi-combat simulator. And you can see that this got high praising in Zack magazine, who awarded this 87%, and this game can be played in a number of different ways, but once the strategy runs out, then it's an avoid 'em up, and so it gets high marks for everything as a combined events game, just like the Summer Games series. Your Commodore gave this 80%, Commodore User gave this 80%, and Lemon 64 gave this 7.4, that's 74%. So that means the combined average rating is 8 out of 10. I think with a couple more maps, this game could have been immaculate and a masterpiece, but as a Tobruk liberation sim, it could have been slightly better, and the racing against time aspect isn't amazing at the best of times. Thank you very much.